So let's bring in Walt Frazier to try to make sense of all of this. Clyde, how you doing? Michael and Don here.
Hey, doing good, guys. What's up?
Now, I know that at the beginning of the year you thought the Pacers were going to win the championship. Now, they have really struggled at the end of the year. They struggled to get to this point. Do you still think they could beat the Heat?
No, I don't think so. They seem to be overwhelmed by the pressure. I mean, come on, they had one time, 50 and 14 or 16, and then they started to flounder. They still aren't out of that. So I think they're very fragile right now. But what the Heat has to do is go into Indiana and win the first game, get in the first punch, and I think that will put the pressure on the Pacers. I don't think they can respond now. I think mentally and psychologically, they are hurting. They're very weak, so the Heat can capitalize on that.
Have you ever seen a team's psyche just completely collapse like this in the middle of a season?
No, not after playing so well. It was just inexplicable, but we know why. Hibbert, I don't know, all of a sudden he couldn't do anything right. George was very erratic, so their backcourt, Hill wasn't playing well. And to me, that's still the scenario. Those guys are still struggling right now. So I think Wade is the key. If Wade is healthy and he can play his game, I think they should be able to prevail, albeit they don't have the home court. When I talked to you guys at the beginning of the season, that's why I was going with Indiana, because I thought the only difference between the two teams was the home court advantage.
And now it seems like Indiana plays very poorly at home. They probably don't want the home game being, Game 7 there, because it's not been home court advantage at all. I mean, Washington slapped them around on their home court.
Yeah, we saw that this year with the Knicks. They couldn't play at home. They seem to be more relaxed on the road. So I think that happens to a team that's struggling, not very comfortable in their environment.
All right, Clyde, let me ask you this. A lot of people think that this is the weakest Miami team of the three that has gone to the finals. Do you see that, and is it simply a matter of that they've gotten older?
Yeah, that's one aspect. They've gotten older. Wade is obviously not the same player. Every year his injuries has taken a toll on him. Bosh is still kind of erratic. The center position is weak for them, and that's why if Hibbert can play up to his expectations, and that's what I thought early this season, that's why the Pacers would beat them. They've got West, who's another very physical guy, so their interior play, which is what Miami's weakness. They are not a very good interior team. Battier's not the same player. So, Allen, he can give you some big games now, especially with some key shots down the stretch. But overall, I think this team is not as strong as in the past.
And out west, there they are again. We keep thinking this is going to be the last season, that it's going to come apart, and there sit the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, how do you figure this out?
Well, they remind me of the old Knicks. They're a veteran team, no-nonsense, team-oriented on the offense and the defense. They really like each other. Don't care who makes the points as long as it gets done. And I see a little deja vu coming, guys. San Antonio and Miami in the finals. But this time I'll go with San Antonio. I think there's a redemption there. Obviously, their bench is very potent, and I think that should be the difference in the series.
Now, you have never, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, you've never been ultra high on Miami. You don't think they're an all-time great team. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, they have two Hall of Famers in Wade and James. But I may probably Bosh, too. I think he's the big three. They have the big three. The rest of those guys are, I think, subliminal role players. And like now, Haslam has to be a guy who hasn't played much this season. He's the guy that they're going to be focusing on because of his tenacity in the paint against Indiana.
Now, 3 straight championships if they get it, Walt. Still you wouldn't do it? You still wouldn't consider them an all-time team? 4 straight finals appearances, 3 straight championships, you still wouldn't give it to them?
No, because of the Eastern Conference, man.
But still, there's something to be said about that, though. There's something to be said about just every year taking what they're giving you and still coming up aces.
Yeah, but I think you also have to look at the caliber of play that they're playing against. So probably if they get 4 or 5, like they said when they first got together, the big three.
Right.
And so they'll get the recognition that's due to them then.
All right, let's talk about this Knicks situation, Walt. It looked like Steve Kerr was choice number 1, 2, and 3, and he decided not to come here and goes to Golden State, which has a better roster. And I know you've been tight with Phil your whole life, and I look at that and I say, that's a failure in his first job because he really wanted Steve Kerr and he couldn't get him. How do you look at it?
Look like Kerr used and abused us, man.
It does look like that.
Yeah, because in the paper, I don't know if we could believe what we read in the paper, but he wanted to complete his TNT duties, right?
Yep.
So that's why he had the Knicks waiting. And now all of a sudden he signs with Golden State. I'm like, I didn't like the fact that he kept us waiting. Like, come on, man, we're the New York Knicks. This job is yours, and why are you waiting? So, but really, guys, I didn't see him as a New York guy.
How come?
I see him more as a West Coast guy. I like Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson's out there, some other guys. So I'm not that disappointed that he didn't sign with us.
Now, do you think that it's a blow to Phil Jackson that he didn't get the top guy, that he didn't get the guy that he wanted?
The guy that's his buddy.
Yeah, obviously, and that shows you the state of the Knicks right now, that people don't feel that they're that close. Obviously, he didn't think the Knicks were that close. Albeit 2015, they can do some wheeling and dealing. He didn't want to handle that scenario, rather go to Golden State, a team that's already on the threshold.
Now, there's a story today in the New York Daily News, Walt, that Bob Raceman interviewed Marv Albert, and Marv Albert supposedly told Steve Kerr, don't go there. Everybody who works there wants to get out. It never ends well. Do you think that might have swayed Kerr? And you work there. Do you feel that way?
Well, Marv has somewhat of a grudge the way he left the Garden, so he hasn't said anything positive about the Knicks since he left.
Right.
That's a possibility. So he's been with Kerr a long time, so, that might have been in the back of his mind when he made the decision. I don't feel that way. I think, a lot of people are saying, Mr. Dolan's the problem. I think he's going to give Phil a chance to turn the situation around.
Now, you had mentioned something interesting when you were analyzing Kerr not coming here. We're the New York Knicks. I mean, you mentioned the Knicks in a very high regard, and I think a lot of people agree with you. But you just wonder, Walt, around the NBA, former players, former coaches, do they look at the Knicks in the same regard? Do they still hold the Knicks as one of those original great franchises of the NBA anymore?
No, and that's why Phil Jackson was so important. His signing was so important to the Knicks. He brought instant credibility to the franchise. A guy that has played for the Knicks, you understand the nuances. He's been a winner, and people believe that he's going to turn the team around. I believe he's going to turn it around. I didn't like the Kerr thing when he was going hell-bent to sign Kerr. I didn't like that, but how can I question Phil Jackson? I have to give him a chance to do what he can do and see what happens.
Now, an interesting thing, it seems like everybody that's on Phil's list, and this is what people report, Walt, Phil has not said a word, it's somebody that's played for Phil Jackson, has a connection with Phil Jackson. Do you think that Phil is married to that and married to the guy who coaching the triangle? And I ask you that because Mark Jackson's not a triangle coach, and neither is Jeff Van Gundy, two guys that are eminently available to coach. You think he would look outside the triangle?
I would hope so, guys. I would hope so, because it's like if you're a player, the Knicks draft a player, so maybe you played in one system, but if you're a player, you can adjust to any system. Look at Earl Pearl. When he came to the Knicks, he was a run-and-gun guy. But he came to the Knicks, he became a team player. So if a player has a talent, it's just like a coach. You can coach one system, you can adjust to. Look at Riley. He was a Showtime in L.A. He came to New York. He was hounding town. So you got to go with the talent that you possess. So that's one thing maybe Phil, might be too hell-bent on. I don't know. Is that the triangle is the whole thing. What if that doesn't work, like with Steve Kerr? Then you're back to where? So if the flexibility isn't there, I think you got to have a little flexibility in that whoever you hire as a coach, if the triangle doesn't work, then they can go to the passing basketball, a different style of basketball. Look at what Doc Rivers did. He brought, that game that he stole. He had a small player on Durant. So these are the type of situations that you've got to adjust to in order to win in this game. You just can't rely, I think, on one system.
So the $64,000 question, if he struggles to find the next coach, do you think he'd make himself an option?
I hope so. I'm praying.
You think he'd be the best choice?
Obviously, everybody would be elated if he did that, but physically, I don't know if that's going to happen. And I think maybe that might be the last result after this. Like if he hires a coach, it doesn't work out, then maybe that's a possibility. At that point, he might feel compelled to to try to get in there and coach and bring the team back.
Talking with the great Walt Frazier. Walt, Jerry West said something the other day that I don't agree with. I want to get your take. He was asked, do you ever ask a star player for their input on the hiring of a coach? He said, absolutely not, never. Well, that might be the case, but we've seen players get coaches fired. Magic Johnson got Westhead fired. Ewing got Don Nelson fired. Jason Kidd got Byron Scott fired. So doesn't it make sense to run it by your star player, whether or not he's in on the coach that you're going to hire?
Of course. You have to give them a choice. Even if you don't feel that they know what they're saying, at least they will think that you do by coming to them.
Right.
Yeah, so it's protocol. You should do that. You should go to your best player and talk to them and find out what they think about a hiring of a coach.
And especially
like
with Carmelo.
If they have the option, like Melo has the option to get anybody fired, you should have a say in who they're hiring.
Now, I hear you have a wine tasting at Clyde's Wine and Dine. What's this about?
Yeah, we're trying to do this maybe once a month where we come in and have the different wines, and it's a good way to be networking. So tonight is the first one, and, I'm headed over there tonight. Remember, Clyde's Wine and Dine is on 37 and 10th. There's parking at 38th Street, and we validate your parking tickets and make it a little cheaper. So I hope some of the fans will come out. Also, they've been coming out, Mike, to watch the games. The Net and Heat series, a lot of fans were coming out. We're starting to get some Ranger fans in there now. So the Ranger fans are coming in supporting the team as well.
All right, so you got the wine tasting and food pairing. So you guys are going very classy now, huh?
Yeah. So I hope the fans go to Clyde's Wine and Dine. They can check out our website and find out all the different activities that we're having there, throughout the evening. I'm there now maybe 3 or 4 days a week now that the Knicks are out of it. So I usually go by. And I told you guys, that's why I did it. I like the meeting and greeting. It gives them an opportunity to really talk to the fans, especially the kids. We're a very kid-friendly restaurant. We have the mini basketball hoop in there. We do a tremendous amount of birthday parties, guys. Friday and Saturday, almost everybody's in there celebrating a birthday. So it's been very humbling, the support that I received, and I hope the fans continue to come out.
Well, you're very cool to meet. I see you around people, and you're very, very generous with your time, and you're like that in the restaurant as well. So we thank you for popping on with us, Walt.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Be good. Have a good weekend.